Step 2, inspecting your car and the parts on your car. Very important that you do this, and very important that you do this well. Okay, step 2, inspecting the car, physically going over it from head to toe, and the parts on your car, head to toe. Step 2, part 1, inspect your chassis for every weld on the car, inspect. Okay, go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Get her power washed up. If you strip your car down to a bare frame, get that thing power washed up and get her cleaned up really good. And inspect the welds. You're looking for small cracks right along the weld and the tube, right along the bead of the weld and the edge of the tube. You're looking for cracks. In the upper A-arms area, in the pull bar area, in the X area, in the cross members, in the rear mounting area, the J-bar area. These are all places that like to crack. Okay, if you're building a new car, consider white frame. If you're doing a black frame because you think you're hiding something from your competitors, your focus is way off, way off. If you're doing black on black because you think you're hiding something or making it harder for your competitors because you think you're doing the trick, you're way off. Your focus is way off. If you do a white car with a white underside, it's so much easier to see in the dark. It's so much easier to see stuff at the racetrack. It is. I love a white car. So inspect every weld physically and make sure they're not broke, because a car that flexes unpredictably is going to cause you problems. It affects the load at the tires, and it's going to cause you problems. And that problem is going to be a big variable. It's not going to be a consistent, and it needs to be fixed. And it needs to be fixed now. So use chassis, 100% inspect, and the parts, whether they're new or used, the parts we're putting on them cars need to be inspected. Step 2, part 1, inspect 100% of the welds. Step 2, part 2, inspect the bird cages. Okay, bird cages are a major component on a dirt car because there are one of the few parts that are moving, and the parts that move need to move freely and without bind, and they need to be new or they need to be like new. So if you're second year on your car or older, inspect your bird cages, take them off the car. Make sure the tube underneath of them is clean. Make sure that the rear end housing is fine. But inspect the plates on the bird cage. I suggest that you put new bearings in the bird cage every single year. Okay, and you're going to have 2 types of bird cages. A bird cage that the bearing's in the plate, and a bird cage where the bearing's in the tube. I prefer a bearing in the plate, because once the bearing goes in the tube, you're at the manufacturers, you're at really the guy running the parts, whether he's having a good day or not, whether it's a Monday or a Friday, that's going to dictate the alignment of them bearings. Nothing else is. So if he's really doing his job 100%, he still can mess up. But the alignment of the bearing from one side of the bird cage to the other needs to be well within 5 thousandths. If it's not, you're going to have side bite and drive issues in the slick. You're going to have traction problems in the slick. If your bird cage is bent or beat up, it can cause bearing issues. There's not an application in the world where we misline the bearings. So why would we do it on a bird cage? When we put them in the plate, it allows us to do multiple things. It allows us to adjust the plates from side to side in the misalignment of the bolts to have them aligned perfectly. That's why when you buy a bird cage from BSB, it comes fully assembled, because it's precision aligned bird cage, comes fully assembled. So if you bend the plate and you replace the plate, you need to make sure that you get it back right, perfectly aligned. We do this for people. We service bird cages in the off season. We put bearings in a lot. So if that's something you want to do, we can do it. But bearing alignment, super important. Okay. The reason these things need new bearings every year is because every bird cage out there is going to take on water. Water runs it runs around the axle tube and down along the bottom of the tube and into the bird cage. And every single bird cage out there has water marks on the inside of it, rust or where water stood. And it's amazing how much water gets in there. It is utterly amazing. Okay, there are steps you can take to keep the water out. You can bag your bird cages. You can bag your rotors. You can bag all that stuff every time you wash your car. You can put a grease circle on it. And there are reasons why we don't do that. I'm not going to discuss them here, but the reasons are good why we don't do that. If you're the type of guy that can drill and tap a hole, then you'll understand it's not a hard job. And the reasons that we don't do it is because I don't want to have to deal with it. Okay? Put a grease circle in it. Put grease in it. Fill that pocket between the bearings with grease. Maybe just the bottom half of the birdcage. Fill that pocket with grease. Okay? Maybe fill the whole pocket with grease. And then mid-season, give it a little grease until it pops. Okay? We're not trying to grease the bearing. Absolutely not. We don't want any more grease in the bearing than what's in the bearing because it will deter the rotation of the birdcage. Okay? You pump them bearings full of grease, that birdcage will not rotate. It will not go around for you. It will kill a race car. So the grease that's in there is in there to keep the water out. Okay, bearing, birdcage. Step 2, part 2, very, very important. The quality of your birdcage, very, very, very important. Step 2, part 3, rod ends. Okay, rod ends don't move as much as A-arms or bearings, or bird cages do. But rod ends have load on them, and the load is pretty high. So when a load's applied to them, they cannot bind. There are ways to check the load. In a press, you can check the load. You can build a device that you can load, that you could use your load stick to load and check your rod ends. Okay? And if you can't move that rod end under a decent amount of load, 13, 14, 1,500 pounds, then you're not going to be able to move it on the car. So you need to, I say, buy new rod ends every year. It's a small investment. Buy them. And buy a Teflon lined rod end. Now, every single rod end company builds a rod end, and I can't answer for everyone. I can't answer for an FK rod ends. Okay, that bearing has been very successful for us, as I'm sure there are others. But I know this one, and it has worked well for us. And in a lot of cases, we were able to run that bearing the entire year. Now, things that rod end does not like, a lot of water from the car wash, no. The years we did run it for a full season, we did run it with a boot. And that boot had lithium grease in it. Okay, so that's a different story. If you're getting them wet, air dry them. Get a handheld blowgun, compressed air, dry them off after you wash the car. Don't wait around too long, get them dry. Do not lubricate these bearings with WD-40 or ZEP. It does not make them better. It makes them worse. Okay? The nylon in them, F&K, is pregnated. They are self-lubricating rod ends. So don't think you're doing them a justice by putting graphite on them. They'll take care of themselves. You just take care of them, and the bearing will do its job. Step 2, part 3, rod ends. Step 2, part 4, all the components on the car. And we're going to start with wheels. If you have bent wheels, get them going. You wouldn't put a bent wheel on your car and drive it down the highway at 80 miles an hour. So why do you put a bent wheel on your race car and drive it down the straightaway at 80 miles an hour? If the wheel is bent, get it going. Rear end axle. You need to take the rear end out. When you're doing the birdcage inspection, just pull the whole rear end out of the car. just pull the whole thing out, put it up on the bench, and check it for straight tubes. Okay, if you've raced it for a couple of years, which a lot of people have raced their rear ends for multiple years, but if you've raced it for a few years, yes, there's a very good chance them tubes are bowed, if nothing else. So don't think you can get away with it year after year. Get them gone, get them fixed, get them right. So get that thing up on the bench, check it for bent tubes, inspect the bird cages, inspect the seals. Maybe put your ear up and listen to the gears in it. Okay, look her over. Drain the oil, put new oil in it. Step 2, item 4 is parts on the car. Okay, we've covered wheels, rear end. Ball joints. Ball joints, they bend a lot. You bend a lot of ball joints. Make sure your ball joints are not bent. Make sure they're free. If you've got serviceable ball joints, service them. If servicing means replace them, replace them. Do what you got to do to make sure they're 100% fresh and ready to go. If you're running half-inch, inch-plus ball joints, understand they're going to bend easier. So make sure that they are well taken care of. Brake calipers, brake rotors, don't overrun them. Inspect your rotors. If they're hot and cracked, get new rotors. Get new rotors. If you've seen a little leakage out of your calipers, either rebuild them or buy new. But inspect them. Make sure that they're 100% functional for the upcoming season. Battery cables. Battery cables are easy to get corrosion within the insulation, but and it's so easy not to get caught or seen. So when you're fighting an electrical problem that's caused because of a poor ground, the car don't want to run, whatever, it is a nightmare. And it can be a bad wire, easily be a bad wire. So inspect your switches, inspect your wire connections to your switches, inspect your gauges, and all the wiring involved with it. So make sure it's 100% good. Wheel bearings. Wheel bearings are not a deep subject. Make sure they got ample grease. Preload spacers are set right. Maybe it's time for new, inspect them, clean them, repack them, and go again. Brake adjuster. Brake adjusters can take on rust. They can take a little beating. So at the end of the year, maybe you need to pull it out and rework the whole thing. But make sure it's working. Make sure when you turn it that you're getting full turns. Make sure you're centered, that you know what centered is. Make sure that when you first get a car, if it's a new car, make sure you know which way's front and which way's rear. Okay? Because I've seen that problem way too many times. So get it figured out, get it marked on the dash, make sure it's making the proper adjustments, 8 turns, 10 turns, 10 turns, make sure you're in the center. Because racing with front brakes and rear brakes is very important. Okay, so if you're 3-wheel braking, if you got a brake shut off and that's how you race a car, you got a tight race car. Okay, it's not where we want to be, but make sure your brake bias works well. Pull bar. Pull bar, they get overlooked a lot. We'll run the springs longer than we should. We'll run the internal biscuits longer than we should, the brake biscuits. At the end of the year, just buy new biscuits. The spring on a 3-way pull bar, a lot of times, if it's getting 1.5 inches of travel, is not seeing a severe amount of load. But if it makes you feel comfortable, buy a new spring. But definitely buy new biscuits. Pull the thing off, service it, put some anti-seize on these parts. I know anti-seize is a horrible pain in the butt, but use it on your bird cages. Use it on your rod ends. Use it on everything that's got a bolt that may sit in place for a while so it doesn't seize up. That your tie rod ends, put some anti-seize on them. So when we're at the racetrack and we need to make them adjustments, that we know they're right. Spindles. If you have to pull your spindles, buy a spindle tool. I'll put it in the description. Make sure your pin alignment is 100% correct, because if it's not, your car is not going to be good. So if them ball joints are not looking straight at each other, it's side bite and drive issues that you fight. Side bite and drive in the slick. You race Central Iowa, you can go out and do about anything you want, and you're going to have success. I'm not talking about racing that kind of moisture or a big cushion on a soft tire. I'm talking about running in the slick on a medium to hard tire, even a UMP tire. Grip is important. Okay, so we can't do these things and make grip. Step 2, part 5, springs. Springs, what can I say? There's more that we don't know about springs than we know. Springs are a complicated item on our race car, even though we've really classified them under a pretty simplex item. We know very little about springs. We rate springs in a 1+1, which really doesn't tell us anything other than the rate, but we think that tells us that they're good, and it don't. Springs are best if you buy new springs every year, regardless of the brand. Some brands you may need to buy, mid-season. You may need to buy 3 or 4 times a year. Okay, springs are currently being built cheaper to increase the profit margin, not the performance level. They are a profit-driven product, not a performance-driven product. You need to understand the difference, because this will affect your racing. So springs, when it comes to springs, the best thing to do is to buy 4 or 5 new springs. That's first of the year, and maybe mid-season. Understand this, when you have a spring issue, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you cannot identify it as a spring issue. Okay, and you cannot ever tune that out of the car. It'll never tune out of the car. It'll never tune out of the car. So you'll fight this. You may cover it up. You may make it better, but you're never going to fix it. Find the problem, fix it. And when it comes to springs, it's hard to do. You're best off just buying new. Step 2, part 5, springs. Step 2, part 6, shocks. Service your shocks. Okay? Every year, new oil, service your shocks out. Make sure your shocks are at 100%. Test your shocks, hand stroke your shocks, test your shocks weekly, right front, left rear. Okay, test your shocks and make sure you know. But service your shocks because you need new oil in them, and you need to know what you have. You need to have some kind of understanding of what your shock is. If you do not, and your shock guy maybe doesn't offer that service, let us help you do that. We can dyno them if you've already had them serviced, or you can ask him to provide you with some dyno sheets, and we can do that. But we need to know what your shocks are, and you need to know. Okay, so we have an idea of how well your car is performing. Okay, or if there's issues with the shocks, that the same thing as the spring, you are not going to tune that out of your car. You're always going to have that problem. So if you have a bad shock, I talked to a guy today and he was having car problems with his car, and it is simply a shock problem and it's causing him problems. So service your shocks yearly. In some cases, if you race a lot, you may need to service your shocks bi-yearly. That would be a good thing. But make sure that your shock program, you don't have to know everything there is to know about shocks. Absolutely not. It's a waste of time, in my opinion, because there's guys out there that do shocks that can tell you what you have and can help you. Now, understand, there's a lot of guys out there doing shocks that have no clue what they're doing, okay? And you need to weed through this. And some of those guys are pretty good racers, and they're selling a product to fund their racing, not to help you be a better racer. Okay, we're providing a shock to help you to be a better racer. Understand the difference. Service your shocks. Understand what you have. Understand the bleed value of what you have, and maybe the 0 point of what you have. If your shock guy can't provide that information for you, allow us to do it for you. Step 2, part 6, is shocks. Now, let's head over to part 3. We are going to break these videos up. We're going to have a long version and a shorter version. We'll have a full version and a broke down version. And we'll do the breakdown version to help you guys because these are pretty long videos. So it may be best if you don't sit through an hour of it all at one take. So we're going to break it down. Next video up will be step 3.